There is a strong warning of Ghana returning to the days of the so-called culture of silence, where media freedoms were curtailed. Dr. Charles Wereko-Brobbey, the pioneer of private radio in Ghana, has been assessing the performance of government on protecting media freedoms as part of the Defend Media Freedoms campaign. Head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, spoke to Charles Wereko-Brobbey on PM Express, and here are some excerpts.
Unless we actually had a free and fair media, then really we're heading down the road, back on the road of government manipulation of the media. So for us, there was no question of a license because the Constitution did not allow that. So we wrote to the Frequency Registration Board and said, look, we are intending to start this. This is the frequency we have selected, and could you please register it for us? Now, I'll tell you, Evans, I think it was a deliberate act because some have argued, especially in the legal profession, that one should have gone to court to seek clarification. Well, I take solace from the Constitution says, unless I'm actually not clear of what the Constitution says. And I also felt that if you went to court, the whole matter would be embroiled in litigation for many, many years. And of course, as long as litigation has started, then really action could not be taken.
Yeah.
So that was the reason why we went on air, because we felt that democracy and pluralism went hand in hand, broadcasting pluralism especially. And therefore, for us, the testament to the truth of the whole thing is that the Fourth Republic of Ghana has lasted 25 years of Radio I, or 27 years of the Fourth Republic.
Yeah.
And you have a situation where other republics did not last. You don't have a situation now where soldiers have to take over one radio station, although we are seeing the abuse of such privileges. And I believe that for those who want to give credit to the survival and the sustainability of the Fourth Republic, I think the difference has been the advent of radio pluralism and the fact that the public has been allowed to make its own voices.
Absolutely. And so let's fast track to 2019, after all these years of Fourth Republican democracy and the Constitution that you used to set up Radio I. What's your assessment of how press freedom is doing in 2019?
To be honest with you, press freedom, we've never had a press freedom. I mean, people will be surprised.
We've never had a press freedom?
No, we'll be surprised. You see, you got to have freedom from something. What are you freeing yourself from? And if you look at Article 162, it said freedom of the press is guaranteed.
Yes.
Now, what do we mean by freedom? We are confusing two things. There is no doubt that we have pluralism. There's over 400 stations or media broadcasting of various sorts. So clearly there's pluralism.
Doesn't that equate to freedom?
No, at all. And there is also free speech of a certain level, that people can speak their mind relatively freely until the recent developments. Now, those two things have confused the whole thing and said, there is media freedom or press freedom. There is not.
Explain.
The whole thing says that, especially in Article 1624, very expressly, that the press shall be free from interference of the government, and its editorial independence shall be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that is media freedom, because it's freedom of the government.
Yeah, but isn't that what we are enjoying today?
No, we are not enjoying it. We've never enjoyed it. No, we've never enjoyed it because, first of all, contrary to what the Constitution said, and the establishment of a specific body to look after the media in Ghana, the press, and the practice, the National Media Commission, the law that was established in 1995, setting up the National Communications Authority, puts the media by dint of the fact of allocation of frequency into the hands of the National Communications Authority. The National Communications Authority happens to be an agency of government. So for me, that is an anathema, and that's one of the reasons why we went to court and said the Constitution specifically forbids government interference with the media. So
you think that the mere architecture of the NCA amounts to government interference in the media?
Well, not the architecture, no, because there are several functions.
Okay.
But the specific function
the authorization
that
function.
gives the authorization function
Okay.
to NCA is not both unconstitutional, it is illiterate. It's illiterate for the fact that even be who is of the Asante blood and an engineer by training knows that the word license and the word authorization mean the same. And if anybody wants to doubt it, they can consult even the cheapest dictionary in the world. That license and authorization means exactly the same. So I do not see how you say that, and in the most famous ruling, that's of the Supreme Court, yes, you do not need a license, but you need an authorization. That is the most inane and stupid judgment I've ever heard. But
you're risking contempt of court here.
No, I'm not risking contempt at all. I'm giving my opinion of a judgment, and I have a right to give that opinion. And the fact that you say that license you don't need, but you need authorization, it's an idiocy that we have lived it for far too long. And because of that idiocy, it's opened the gate for continuing government interference from day one, from the manner in which frequencies, radio broadcasting stations were established, right to this day when we have seen the biggest infraction of media freedom.
Let me ask you that, now that you've mentioned it, is it the biggest infraction you say?
The biggest infraction.
Which specific example are you referring
to? The shutting down of radio stations perceived to be sympathetic to the opposition, the use of armed security of the national apparatus to actually raid radio stations, the national security apparatus going into a media house to say to somebody or to the editors, take down these articles.
As in the modern Ghana example.
Exactly. Those are infringements direct of Articles 162.
Let's separate the two examples. Let's stick with the NCA's actions, with the shutdown of Radio Gold and XYZ in Accra, to be very specific. The NCA, and you cited the Supreme Court, the court ruling. The NCA had the court backing, the court ruling on its side. And their position was they were simply executing a lawful order.
Post-facto rationalization of an absolutely unfortunate act. Because it was very clear from the beginning, and also even the judgment of the arbitration that they were involved in with Giba, that the manner in which they prosecuted the whole thing was absolutely wrong. If somebody owes you money, there are laid down rules in which you seek to collect your money. You don't take armed goons to go and shut them down. Now that's irrelevant. They say they have the absolute right. But that, in fact, you see, if it claims to be not in infringement of 1623, which was a subject of litigation, it's a clear infringement of 1624, which says you have no interference with a radio station and with editorial independence. Clearly, if you shut down a station, that is the biggest sort of editorial independence you can tarnish. Because at the end of the day, if you want your frequency, there's electronic ways in which you can either jam the station or take your frequency away without actually sending armed goons to raid that station. So I'm in no mind about this, and will be minded very, very soon to take this matter back to the Supreme Court. But the post-facto rationalization is unfortunate. And I think it's unfortunate because, let me put the record straight. The person, the legal person who defended the actions of Radio I right from the beginning, right through to the Supreme Court, it's not the president of Ghana.
Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Though I cannot believe that he did it simply because he was defending a client. And because of Nana Akufo-Addo's record as a champion of human rights and freedom of the press and freedom of speech, etc., I believe that certain people acted and abused his name to act without his permission.
Charles Wereko-Brobbey, the founder of the Radio I, which is 25 years this year. I mean, it's not in existence anymore, but that was the first radio station. And it is all part of our Defend Media Freedom campaign, which we have launched, and we're expecting all media organizations as well to join in that campaign to protect the space and make it more safe. The hashtag is Defend Media Freedom on social media. Join in the conversation and let's get this going. In the course of the weekend next week, we'll bring you more of such perspectives on our media freedom in this country, and we'll also be hearing from you, talking to you to find out what you think of all that's happening.